even if it's not over 50%, and that's debatable anyway, even if it is, let's say, 47%, it's good enough if you're getting rid of that one deck mostly half of the time, then you really destroy the other two decks a lot. So, really interesting strategy. As I love it when metagames start to develop like this. You're not just bringing the best decks anymore, you're starting to think about how to interact with your opponent's lineup more.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're still in that sweet spot in the meta where people argue about what decks are actually favored and not. And this Hunter is something that I look at and I say, how does this beat Priest? But apparently a lot of the Taiwanese players thinking... have seen in their testing that it actually works out pretty well. So for Tom, guessing Diremola and Alley Cat he sees to prefer over Diremola, which makes sense. I think you only keep one of those, and Houndmaster is an insane pickup. That's definitely what you need to consolidate against Priest, but Cleric on one is a nightmare.
So for those who weren't here yesterday, what's different about Tom's Hunter deck to, say, the Spiteful Hunter deck we've been seeing from other players?
Right, so Kranich's Spiteful Hunter deck has more mid-game threats, whereas Tom's and Pinping Ho's cap out at a Leroy, I believe, and Corridor Creepers as well, and they're running heavier Pirate package and Candle Shots. So this kind of deck is meant to get going at a quicker pace at the beginning, and because of that, it really hurts that Tom is not able to go first, and the fact that he didn't, and Virtual had the best possible play on one against Hunter. Again, 1/3 stat line minions are insane against Alley Cats and Patches decks and so on.
Yeah, and Houndmaster obviously then just becomes negated because it doesn't have anything to target. Your favourite card is really bad against Priest, which is the Flanking Strike, of course.
Favorite is an interesting choice of word. I don't hate the card, I think it's good, but it doesn't make too much sense in this kind of deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just doesn't even have a target against Priest in some developments of the game, so it can just be really bad in terms of an aggro card.
Right, so Tom actually choosing to equip the Candle Shot there, I think it's with playing something as drastic as Hunter's Mark in mind in the next turn, because he wouldn't equip and hold the charge if he was planning to coin out an Eaglehorn Bow. Doesn't quite make sense. So if Virtual goes for the Power Word Shield, well, he wouldn't be able to play it this turn, but if Tom gets rid of the Cleric, then at least he's denying Virtual a target for that. However, do you think maybe Potion of Madness might be a better pick against this deck with a bunch of Pirates and stuff like that?
Yeah, if he feels he's going to get some use out of the shield, then sure. But actually, you really want a Radiant Elemental or something for that shield. So he's just going for the long-term play. He thinks he can survive to turn 6 because of this early Cleric and because the Priest of Feast, and then just clear on 6 against a deck that doesn't have much stuff going on after 5 fights.
Sure, I can see this. Potion of Madness seems like too much of a band-aid, whereas Dragonfire Potion can really, really just eliminate every threat from this Hunter. It does cap out at Corridor Creepers, so even if those were to come down, they would die to Dragonfire Potion, barring like a Houndmaster buff. So,
yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Tom to make enough headway to actually stop that from happening.
Yeah, Virtual, even though he's not doing anything because the Cleric was able to negate any early pressure from Tom, means that he's perfectly happy to pass a couple turns and then follow up with AoE into AoE, which is what Priests do best these days.
Yeah, Priest of the Feast is going to have to be taken care of. Otherwise, it'll just heal back up.
Or you can play the best 4-drop in your deck when you top deck it and make your AoE curve 5, 6, 7, which is absolutely insane. Not quite hitting it in the first choice, so... if you're thinking you can get the AoE, I think the 5/5 Demon is an insane tempo play. But if you don't, going for card draw is never awful.
I don't like the card draw on this occasion because his turns 6 and 7 are both already mapped out.
Right, yeah.
You don't even necessarily play Scream on 7, but you do if they reload with Creepers.
Yes.
And so I'd rather go with Mystic Wool or the 5/5, depending how you think your other options are. I think the draw 2 cards will take care of itself over time. You're just going to draw them off the top of your deck over the next 3 turns anyway.
Sure, I'm liking the 5/5 because even if you deal 5 damage, it's still kind of like an early Firelands Portal, and that AoE is just the best spell ever. So I hope he took that 5/5 Demon option, and he did. So thinking Tom's going to be having a real rough time this game.
Yeah, especially, I mean, his hand hasn't developed how he wanted. When he held that charge back for the Eaglehorn Bow, this could now be up there. Because he drew the other Eaglehorn Bow, that looks really bad. Sometimes Hearthstone just makes you look bad.
Right.
Like whenever I play.
But Tom, honestly, he realizes at this point that having seen a Kazakus, having seen Shadow Visions into a pick, he realizes that there will be AoE coming into these mid to late game turns from Priest. There's not that much you can do to set up a board state to withstand that AoE, so he actually just starts going for face, which I think is a really great recognition of the situation.
Yeah, and talking of recognition of the situation, next turn is just going to be Priest of Feast Binding Heal. if Virtual recognises his situation, because he took this 5-5, which is going to control the board without having the need for the Dragonfire. He's going to be able to heal for an absolute ton here.
Just way out of range. And as if the Psychic Scream wasn't enough for the next turn, not that he'll even need to play it, he has Anduin and just all the stabilization he needs in the world. And again, Tom is not running things like Spiteful Summoner. At this point, the deck should be pretty thin. Like a bunch of Pirates are the draws. Like the highest value draws at this point are Corridor Creepers and Leroy, which don't really get the job done even. So I'm thinking it's pretty much over.
Yeah, Tom's in the world where he's hoping Virtual has no spells left in his hand as Priest. Yeah. He's just going face just in case. And all Virtual has to do is make sure he stays out of range. One thing that Hunter has been able to do since Priest became good is just occasionally get a win where you think it's over. Just because the hero power does keep plugging away, the Priest doesn't actually build up on health a lot of the time.
Sure.
So you always have to be a little bit careful. But I mean, I agree with you, it's over. But just seen this happen a few times where the Priest just can't get out of range with 7 turns on the trot.
Right. And the preemptive Shadow Word Death from Virtual, they're recognizing that he might not get a good target for it later on, and he's going to Anduin anyway, so don't mind it at all. Of course, the Potion of Madness pickup was insane for that extra 3 health that was much more convenient to play, but he still would have been at a very safe range despite not having any spells that he would enjoy playing.
Yeah, and Tom, even if he makes the read, has to play the Creeper to apply any pressure, otherwise the Anduin never gets played, so he knows this is dying to Anduin because of the last turn, but has to play it pretty much anyway, just in case he draws another one.
So is there any sequence of draws that causes Tom to not concede yet? I guess if you get kill commands, and maybe Virtual forgets that Unleash the Hounds is in the deck and goes wide for some
I mean, one thing Tom
reason
has on his side here, which actually is a reason for not conceding, is he's playing against a guy who holds him in very, very high esteem.
Okay.
So rather than conceding and have him think, oh, Tom will concede to me, just make him beat you over and over again. Just keep him a little bit on edge.
This is a lot of the meta that we've been talking
about. Mind games meta. People like Tom, I think, do factor that in.
Sure. And Virtual, I really like the stark contrast between the interviews we saw from these players. You have Tom, who is the picture of confidence and saying, well, the only goal is champion, there is nothing else. There is only do, there is no try. Whereas Virtual, who is saying that, well, my main goal is actually just to face off against Tom, and he got it already. I just want to win one game to face Tom. Sure, it'd be great to face Purple later on, but still, this kind of mindset is indicative of a player who is here feeling like it's an honor, for sure.
Not believing in his own ability almost, because he's here on decent results this year within the country.
For sure.
But he's still going, well, I want to play Tom because he's good. I want to play Purple because I really like him. It's almost like sort of still at fan levels.
Yeah, and that's by no means a bad thing because a lot of these players, again, are relatively unheard of outside of Taiwan, which is great to see because they have their own very active scene here. I know a lot of the pro players were talking about how great it was to see fans lining up and trying to get their autographs and talking to them. And these players are the hometown heroes. They are what they have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff out there is insane. All the people getting to speak as we see the game coming to an end. Noticed. I'm sure they noticed.
Sure.
But people getting to meet their heroes, there's a signing session after every match, and there's a line of 150 people going to that. Both players actually signed stuff for whoever wants to after each match. It's been a really interesting event for that. Yeah,
been tons of fun. And now Virtual getting one win up against one of his heroes. And can't say we were too surprised about that because the lineup does seem favored. However, that Priest getting out of the way for Virtual must be a huge pain for Tom because that is the one deck I think that he was trying to maybe bully in this lineup.
Yeah, things are just not looking good. I do a little grid before each match of what I think's favoured and what's not. And it's just red on Tom's side of stuff. Red being bad if you're Tom.
Yeah, ranging from very light red to the dark, bloody, no chance red.
Pretty at all. Again, that's interesting to me because the lineup from Virtual isn't a tricky one. He's doing nothing particularly special. He just brought good decks.
Sure,
Fine. But you should be okay against the good deck strategy, and Tom doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because all of these players on the right side of the bracket that have advanced, aside from purple, are from this region. So I kind of expect that maybe they would be practicing with each other, if anyone. But it seems like Tom has brought a more similar strategy to Pin Ping Ho, whereas Virtual maybe was practicing with some of the other players. Can't make any assumptions about which of these players are actually close with each other, but in terms of the way the bracket was drawn up, seems like Virtual got the longer end of the stick here.
Yeah, when we looked at the deck list, that's how you know, or how you're making the assumption that they've trained with each other, because it's like 120, 119 cards the same or something.
So if Tom wanted any start, it is this in an aggressive matchup. Going for that 1/3 minion into a buff and being able to go first is absolutely insane. I don't think there was any better 1, 2, 3. Maybe a weapon over a war leader, because attack doesn't matter nearly as much as health in these aggressive matchups in the early turns. But absolutely, this Inquisitor into Rockpool Hunter is gonna make Virtual's early game really, really difficult.
Yeah, and Virtual was always going to get a good start. This is why the aggro paladin is favoured. But the second that the Murlocs get a good start as well, it means the game's likely to get into turn 4, turn 5 without anyone taking over, and then the value from the Murlocs, the bigger stuff, just starts to impose itself on the board, as long as Tom can hold on. And that's what his 1, 2, 3 is going to do for him.
Yeah, we can just expect to see some very clean trades here, very reminiscent of Zoo Mirrors, Shaman Mirrors, whatever. Just trading up and value trading as much as possible, because these decks don't run very convenient 1 damage removal outside of patches. They run some weapons, but most of the time doing value trades is the way you win the game, because they don't have many board sweeps at all.
Right. And having seen how much Paladin is at this tournament, I wonder how long it is before Consecration actually starts to turn up as a one-of again in meta.
It'd be interesting.
It's so bad against some decks, obviously, but some of these mirrors have been pretty brutal.
Sure. I feel like it would be a very weird choice on ladder, because I feel like this thing is a conscious decision to try and beat Priest. In a tournament meta, if you expect more of the mirror, maybe Consecration makes its way in, but it is way too early for
I
that
wouldn't
kind
be
of
putting it in for
shenanigans.
this tournament at all, but we've seen... Again, I'm taking a guess from what I can picture, but sort of 9 or 10 Paladin decks brought to this. All very aggressive, so...
Yeah.
That's the one for the future when people start teching and teching.
So it's a very interesting decision for Virtual here, because he really wants to play down the Protector to protect his Direwolf from being eaten by a sick value trade for Tom. But that means he gives up the opportunity for Call to Arms next turn. So he definitely sees that as a priority, and I can't blame him. Call to Arms is a good card.
It is a good card.
He gets a Juggler as well to snipe the 4-1. That would be insane. And
Juggler needs to be on the left, not the right-hand side. They do go in the order that they come out on, even though it looks like they come at the same time.
Right, I feel like that was the worst possible order for them to come out.
Yeah.
The Direwolf not in the middle and the Juggler as far to the right as possible. That's
and then the
unlucky.
Argent Squire that you can't even kill off in the middle, so that you can't even get buffs. Yeah, it's just not worked out at all pretty.
And still, it's given Virtual some sort of board presence that Tom needs to respect. So even if Call to Arms gets its worst outcome, it gets some semblance of a job done. But again, the value trades are all in favor of Tom, and Virtual just cannot come back from this position.
Yeah, this is the bit I was talking about earlier, where you get to turn 4 and suddenly your 1/1s can't handle the onslaught of proper cards.
Right.
You're trying to absolutely get the early game, and very nearly did, actually. Just for a turn there, it looked like Virtual had a chance at clearing stuff up, but no.
Yeah.
We now have a horde of fish.
So a lot of the time when we were looking at these deck lists, we were saying that, well, in theory, the aggro paladin should be favored, because the Murloc paladin relies so much on sticking something and being able to synergize with that. If nothing sticks, then their cards get a lot worse on an individual scale, like War Leader and Megasaur, whereas the aggro paladin isn't affected by that so much. But because Tom was able to stick that 1/3 at the beginning and buff it up, and he made all the value trades properly, he's just never lost control of the board.
What do you feel about the weapon in this deck, in the current meta?
The Valenier?
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to think it is not that good. It can be slow, but it provides some much-needed value in a deck that is light as a feather.
Right. So you think it's okay still to play just because you're so low on value?
Sure, but definitely in this kind of matchup, it underperforms. Not as much as Divine Favor, which is completely useless, but I can see where Valinir could shine. We know that Kolento actually preferred to bring True Silver over that weapon in his aggro palette, so clearly not all the players agree with that.
I think Valinir is one to keep an eye on. I think when things like Control Warrior may become a thing, maybe when patches are gone, maybe that sort of meta, then you might need that extra recurring damage. But I feel at the moment it's just a little slow. Yeah,
it is just, in theory, unlimited buffs while you have a minion in hand. And your opponent can't...
The battle is
well, Virtual there, recognizing that he could not have come back from, I believe, turn 1, honestly. So he's going to give it up, and Tom brings it 1-1.
1-1, and Tom will be pleased, obviously, to get that. He'll be pleased to get any wins because they're pretty much all unfavoured. They're not all disastrous, but that one's not disastrous when you get the 1-2-3. But he would have expected to pretty much lose every game here. So 1-1, giving him a squeak of a chance now.
Right, so that means Tom still has to take a win with that Hunter, and I think that is going to be the weak link in this lineup because Rogue is really, really good at getting rid of those small minions early on. Just the dagger deals with Saucy Deckhand, with Patches, with Alley Cats over the course of several turns, of course. But the Rogue hero power is so efficient in aggressive mirrors that it's definitely skyrocketed Rogue very solidly at the top of the aggro food chain, I would say.
Yeah, very much so. To the point, like I said earlier, I was almost calling it a control deck. When it obviously 6 weeks ago was one of the fastest decks in the meta.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like you say, it's the top of the aggro food chain. I really like that description for it.
It really changes a lot, though, because Rogue, back only a couple weeks ago, we'd see Cairn as a normal inclusion in the deck. Even some people playing Lich King in it. Now, those have been removed in favor of cards like Elven Minstrel. And so it's interesting to see how Rogue can easily change and adapt to any upcoming meta.
So here goes the Hunter, giving it another go. Does have Unleash in this deck, so that's one thing that could give him some sort of chance.
Yes, that I forgot to take that into account. That would be incredibly relevant in this kind of matchup for sure. Virtual hits the 1-2-3, whereas Tom hits the Patches. Unlucky, but at least he has Dire Maul and Candle Shot, which are absolutely insane in wrestling back an early board.
And Virtual is playing such a light deck, like you say, light as a feather, as you put it. Actually, you can throw away the 2-3, whereas the Murloc version is desperate to keep that 2-3.
Absolutely, and Corridor Creeper as a pickup gives this hand the much-needed swing power that it would have lacked otherwise.
And actually, this hand's going to work out really nicely for Virtual in the early 2 or 3 turns. But it's easy to say that because Tom's got about the worst possible hand this deck can get with a double Candle Shot Patches Leroy combo.
Yep. He really needs to pick up what Direwolf isn't that good here. Razor Maw into plus health would be insane, sure. The one plus side for Tom is that this Dire Maul will stick. I think that on turn 2 without the coin, there's actually no way for a Paladin to get an extra 2 damage onto board. It's just 1 at most, unless you have double Actress Veteran, which is a little too much to ask for. So
I think Virtual is looking to how to get this Corridor Creeper down on 3, but it's not going to be easy or possible, most likely. So by spamming this, it does give him a chance.
Just still flooding the board makes a lot of sense. Just because it gets the Corridor Creeper as close as possible. If not turn 3, then 4, surely. And it's way 1 mana before the Unleash turn, so he doesn't need to respect that quite yet.
Yeah. I think if you spend your time worrying too much about the Unleash turn, you end up in trouble anyway. You kind of have to hope he doesn't draw it to some extent.
So Corridor Creeper will be able to come down this turn, thankfully. Wonder if he ever values removing the Beast from Tom a little bit more. It's a bit early since it's not Houndmaster turn yet, but the fact that the Beast can get a value trade on the 1-1 is a little annoying because after he actually goes for that because after you play down the Corridor Creeper, you'll have the weapon, sure, but you don't have a convenient way of dealing with these small minions, which get annoying real quick. Yeah,
you want to get rid of the Houndmaster potential going into turn 4, and that does exactly that as well. And now, what on earth can Tom do?
Looking like an Eagle Horn re-equip here, because everything else sucks.
It really is awful. He's actually going to play the Direwolf into just
the weapon.
Goodbye Direwolf.
I guess just because he expects to be clearing out that 1-1 anyway, so you don't want to be sinking 3 damage into it, which is such an eternal problem for Hunter. Well, it has been. Nowadays, it has Candle Shot for that, but when you're removing cards in your deck to make space for Candle Shots, it just makes the refill potential so much worse for Hunter.
Let the beating commence.
Commence it will. Without a beast in hand, nor the kill command itself, Tom's gonna have a pretty rough time at this.
No patches available. Nothing available.
So yeah, Virtual can go value trade all day. It doesn't matter so much because there's a Candle Shot, but I mean, it just makes sense to remove everything because in this, of course, in almost all aggressive matchups, if you have the board, you have the game. Tom is at a lower health total, and Virtual doesn't have to worry about burst potential at 27, so it's fine.
I think because it's not a beast, that's why he's considering not taking the value here, just get that 5 in. Plus the Leroy in hand is actually now in range to some extent. In fact, technically it's set up lethal, obviously it hasn't really.
Looking at Leroy lethal makes a lot of sense here. Got a little bit narrow vision there, I guess, because it seemed like 100% either way, but if you give Tom less of a window to draw into something, I don't know honestly, but something, then it still makes sense because it's like the captain leaving it up the punish is just letting it get a value trade into the 1-1, which doesn't matter anyway, so makes a lot of sense. And Virtual here, not going to care too much about playing a Leroy before lethal, but it does make a lot of sense to trade because if you leave up one of the whelps, it can remove the Leroy in combination with the Candle Shot.
Actually chose not to play the deck hand there as well. So put that back for Igniter most likely.
Yep. And also because it would die straight away to Candle Shot, I guess, but yeah, Virtual is just so far ahead here. And Call to Arms, sure, best draw in the deck, why not?
Just pew pew.
So the order on that is, had he played the other juggler?
I was just thinking the same thing. He
because
the juggler then.
No, the thing is he still had patches in deck, so it makes no sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And suddenly there is a very wide board.
Click to continue is Tom's hand right now.
I don't think I've ever seen that on stream before. But very interesting there. Quite unfortunate for Tom that he didn't draw into Unleash the Hounds because I'm sure that deck, that card is in that deck for that express purpose of being able to deal with Paladins. I feel like that Hunter, if it had a chance to win versus something in Virtual's lineup, it would be the Paladin and struggle against a Rogue. But now it's lost to the Paladin and it will still struggle against a Rogue.
You don't like this Hunter deck?
No.
We didn't like this Hunter deck when we saw it, so we gave it a bit of a run out, and we still don't like it. Basically, casters couldn't win with it, so who can if we can't?
Clearly, if not even Tom can, then maybe we're not that
Maybe it's not as bad as we thought. Yeah, so
yeah, but then again, he did beat Colento with it, so maybe we just suck.
Colento straight 3-0'd by Tom yesterday.
Don't see that every day. That was truly at once a crowd pleaser and a crowd.
But also there's the World Championships coming up with those two same players taking part. So that's
rematch.
Yeah, rematch potential coming up for there. But yeah, like you say, crowd pleased at the result, but not necessarily pleased they got 15 minutes of the best matchup of the day.
So looks like Tom is going to stick to his guns and keep trying with the Hunter. Virtual has a double Firefly hand, which is pretty insane to combat alley cats and stuff like that. They're not quite 1-3s, but I'm actually surprised to see that he tossed one Firefly away. I guess he values something like Backstab into SI a bit more. Yeah,
or Backstab into Minstrel into Shadow Step seems quite good. Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, maybe he thought he wasn't going to get the time to get the second Firefly online too much.
Yeah, Minstrel in this matchup, I'd say it wouldn't be too early of a keep either. Just because you're really more concerned with removing all of the Hunter stuff, and Minstrel helps refill against more control-oriented matchups. Definitely not the worst pickup, though. So I wonder if Virtual actually ever goes for the Shadow Step and the Firefly here, just because it challenges both of the alley cats. And I don't think you would have that much time to Shadow Step and Minstrel. Then again, Shadow Stepping, as far as Shadow Step goes, there's a bunch of better targets.
Absolute whiff again for Tom on turn 2 here.
It's really, really unfortunate.
And yeah, just establishing this weapon now, followed by the opportunity to coin Minstrel, or all the other good stuff that you can see.
Lots of good stuff. And I guess Misho is the best result there because of the backstab we see in hand. And, ooh.
Keleseth with double Minstrel in hand.
Yeah,
Seems good.
And double Shadow Step.
This might be a good turn.
I have an inkling it's a pretty good turn.
Yeah. Like, sometimes I sit there and before Minstrel was around and say, you know, if you double Shadow Step your Keleseth, you make the game good, but you do run out of cards. But with Minstrel, you just get more cards and they're twice as big.
Problem is actually completely negated. What do you know?
Ouch.
So reining it back in, how does Tom fight back against this?
I mean, he has the board and he will have the board for more than one turn.
He will have a Houndmaster for sure next turn if he wants it. I can't imagine why he wouldn't, because the Creeper will get better later on and having a Beast on board is not always guaranteed. So Virtual thinking at least one Shadow Step makes sense. I'm not quite sure why he would save the other one without something to, like an SI.
He's going to get the something from the two Minstrels in his hand, so maybe he's feeling he'll get SI, he might get Vile Spine. There's a lot of stuff that's going to come from these Minstrels, so the consideration of these might be big enough is definitely worth considering. Sure.
Saving a Shadow Step for further value would indicate that he would want perhaps double Vile Spine value, though that doesn't make sense. That is... Drawing Patches seems good here. What do you think?
It seems like it's going to just clear everything up, activate the Minstrels, and allow a refill and a board basically clear. I would say that's pretty good.
No kidding. So, sorry, I'm still floored by this.
So when you're all complaining at home that you draw Patches too often, just remember Virtual. He's happy to draw Patches.
Sure. Definitely cannot complain. He might still be a little salty about it. I know people that would complain about winning sometimes, but definitely Virtual is just too far ahead here. Tom will be able to play Card or Creeper, but what's a 5/5 got on, what is the Tar Creeper now? Something in like a 6... Well, on your opponent's turn.
It's really big. And choosing to save the 4 health there, feeling that the double Minstrel should allow him to refuel enough that he can afford to not leave the 1/2 on board. That was actually quite a long choice he made there. And I quite like it because he isn't winning in a hurry.
Yeah.
So the 4 health could be very relevant.
Yeah, he can basically set up a wall that's never going to be broken through in the form of this Tar Creeper. I can't imagine why he wouldn't go for it, because the only way he's losing is if that Quarter Creeper can connect once more, maybe another kill command coming down. Tom definitely made his game plan clear by going for the kill command right away. Makes a lot of sense because he recognizes there's no way he is outvaluing this kind of draw from the Rogue, so he needs to hope that the damage just isn't there and the taunts aren't there so he could connect a Leroy, but unfortunately that dream is dead.
Virtual last turn didn't attack the minion with his face.
Wait, 1 sec. Hunter's Mark. Sorry to interrupt you there, but this is probably the one way that Tom could possibly still get there, because he will be putting down Virtual to 8 next turn, and Leroy plus Hero Power gets there. So barring a taunt or what does Hunter have healing? I guess an explosive trap from the Swashbuckler.
Not many good things going on. That's insane how quickly that changed.
No way. I didn't even realize Hunter's Mark was in this deck.
Yeah, the thing I was going to say is, oh, wow.
I did say
yeah, you said a secret.
But
you're near enough for me.
Sure, this one works too, and Virtual is able to remove everything between... Oh, he's actually not going to go for... I thought he was going to go for a multi... Did it fit there? No, it wasn't enough mana, so he had to do that. And that means if Tom orders this properly, he just gets there.
Yeah, he does get there.
That's insane.
Not quite enough mana to sort everything out, I don't think. And
I'm for it. I mean, here I'm again saying, like in that Virtual versus Jason Joe game, that Jason Joe had no way of losing. The tables are a bit turned now, and Tom is able to pull the rug from under Virtual. Just completely missed out on the Hunter's Mark possibility, and it was a very unlikely top deck, but it was the one out that Tom identified really well. He played that kill command earlier than most people would think to, I believe, and he just got there.
That's absolutely incredible. Just played to his... Is it 1 out or is there 2 in that deck?
I mean, he had to get the Unleash into the Hunter's Mark consecutively, and I think he did, and... He did. The Hunter's Mark is a 1 of in the deck. Unleash is a 2 of. So, wow, Tom's able to sneak by with the Hunter.
He's managed to get into a 50-50 situation. Rogue versus Rogue. And you'd make Tom a slight favourite here. not because of decks, but just because of situation, right? Virtual, pretty much the biggest thing he's ever played. And
Yes.
he's been good for it. I'm glad he's come. He's been a really good character. But Tom, it's not the biggest thing he's ever played.
Definitely.
Played a lot of big things. This is another big thing on his agenda.
Not by any means. And I'm looking at the builds of the rogues here, and it looks like there's only one card difference. Virtual choosing to run one copy of Tar Creeper and one copy of Star Knight Chain Gang, whereas Tom runs the double Chain Gang and no Tar Creeper. So both of those cards have sort of a similar role in the Rogue Mirror, at least.
That's a card, though, and that's the same card.
Wow, this is pretty wild, if I do say so
I
myself.
can hear the crowd from here. We made this yesterday. We're 2 or 3 rooms away, so we hardly ever hear the crowd. But when they saw that Keleseth in both hands, they've just gone nuts out there.
It's just insane for Tom. He's going second as well. Okay, Patch is coming back to the party, and Shadow Step also joining the hand for Virtual, meaning that this is pretty much neck and neck, aside from Patches, which might as well not be a card.
But Pirate versus Pirate, I'd rather have the captain by a lot.
Sure.
It's a huge difference in that, but there's going to be a lot of back and forth with massive minions in this game. Things like SI7 Agent have just become garbage suddenly.
Yeah, actually, SI7 is very useful in the mirror, especially when you're on coin. But yeah, since you pointed out that Keleseth will be Shadow Stepped, things will likely be out of range, barring Keleseth itself.
So we're now in a meta where you play your own card and you then unplay it. And that's the best thing you can do.
What is going on? Actually, from Tom there, I wasn't sure if you go for the coin Keleseth here because it makes your SI inactive for a while. And having drawn Patches, the benefit of going for Keleseth as soon as possible is kind of negated.
Backstab
So, not sure.
Rather than saving it maybe for potential Vile Spine later on. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Actually, I don't like it that much either because having SI in hand, backstab combo potential is so good. And you already saw one Shadow Step. If Tom had the other one, maybe he might just play it anyway. So it doesn't seem like clearing that the opposing Keleseth was any pressing concern.
Right. Yeah, that's how I felt about it. It's like the backstab again. You're going to need Vile Spine to win this game of Hearthstone or Bone Mail, one or the other, because these minions are going to be gigantic.
Humongous.
And that's actually
Enormous.
not Tom, because Tom was like, oh my god, I can't believe you top decked that.
Yeah.
But the other one's in hand. Virtual playing the one in top deck to get through there a little bit. Most people would play the one on the left to give away less information.
No, well, this one is buffed by Keleseth, so
exactly.
you get it right away. Yeah, it's insane. Obviously,
Oh yeah,
Virtual
I think he's going into turn 5. It's turn 3.
Yeah. Virtual's pulled ahead so incredibly hard here because Tom, well, going for the Keleseth Shadow Step play is definitely relying on what your next draw will be. That play is strong if you know you can curve out perfectly, but if you miss just 1 or 2 turns in a tempo matchup, it is just not going to get you there. And of course, drawing Patches was incredibly unfortunate as well. So Virtual now can start going face. Yeah, I like this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's turn 4. There's no thing apart from the Chain Gang that saves this, I don't think.
Yeah, Tom doesn't run Cold Bloods, neither of them do. It kind of has fallen out of favor in the meta, so there's no big punish for leaving up minions this tiny. And Tom is just out of the game.
How sickening is that if you're Tom? You sit there with your opening hand is everything you ever wanted. Then you draw Patches and your opponent just destroys you with everything.
I don't know, man. So that deckhand is a 4-3, right? So you can dagger deckhand Patches, trade away 1 captain, and the other patch. I guess he could survive 1 more turn, but it's basically
but what's the
conceding.
Counterplay, right? Yeah,
it's basically conceding. Just survive 1 turn on board, barely, and I'm still reeling from that previous game, honestly, where the Hunter's Mark out was just we completely forgot about it, and Tom managed to get there, but this game just is ending in the blink of an eye as well.
Yeah, I mean, even if Tom survives a turn or 2 here, how does he do 30 damage before Virtual finds any? But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe you just won't survive. Oh, wait.
That's fine. Virtual forgot to...
Yeah, that would...
less
lethal, not that it would matter, but that would be some sick BM there. Channeling the Jason Joe from yesterday. Pass it on.